Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where we get to judge people on the internet. We had a family dinner this evening. My family has 4 kids in total. Me, my older sister, 29, younger sister, 24, and youngest brother, 22. Extended family attended our family dinner. So all of our significant others, our cousins, aunts, and uncles, etc. During the dinner, my elder sister and youngest brother got into a mild disagreement. My sister seemed, at least to me, to be coming across as very aggressive out of frustration and losing said argument. The two of them were too absorbed in their argument to realize the rest of us were getting a bit fed up. Eventually, my sister got really fed up and said, "Shut up, I'm not going to argue with a 22-year-old virgin." My brother hadn't done any personal attacks up until that point. It was completely unprovoked. I think it might have been the alcohol, as my sister is a mean drunk. Anyway, I immediately told my sister to grow up and that she was making an embarrassment of herself. She replied by saying everyone knows he's a virgin and she didn't say anything wrong. She annoyed me as my bro definitely has confidence issues and doesn't need to be made fun of like this. So I responded by saying how she slept with well over 100 men while she was in college. And since everyone in the family knows this, it's not a big deal, right? Turns out her husband didn't know this amazingly. I genuinely assumed he must have known. He left the party angrily, saying my sister misled him about her past. Family is blaming me for their marital problems. I refuse to accept I did anything wrong. My sister bullied my brother in front of everything. All I did was give her a taste of her own medicine. OP, this one's a little bit tricky. First of all, your sister is definitely a butthole. 3 out of 5 buttholes for her. And there's no doubt whatsoever that she desperately needed a dose of her own medicine. But just because you delivered some vigilante justice doesn't mean that you aren't also a bit of a butthole in this situation. So I think I'll give you 1.5 buttholes. I appreciate that you stuck up for your brother, but you stooped to her level. Our next Reddit post is from Dinner Throwaway. Long-time lurker here, hoping some of you guys can weigh in on what has become a really frustrating situation with a close friend and his partner. So my wife, 29, and I, also 29, have been hosting dinner parties a few times a year for as long as we've lived in our current city. We like to go all out and cook elaborate multi-course meals, so we limit our invitations to just a few close friends. Since cooking such a complex dinner is an all-day affair and the food costs add up quickly. We have about 4 to 6 people we invite to these events, depending on their availability, and it's become a great tradition in our social circle. Our friend, James, started dating his girlfriend Sarah about 1.5 years ago, and when we first extended her an invitation, we were informed that Sarah was a vegan. I thank James for letting us know and said she was more than welcome to bring her own food so she would have something to eat. He agreed, and the two of them have been attending our parties regularly for the past year. Everything was fine until now. During our most recent dinner this past week, we noticed that Sarah was very quiet and looked like she was about to cry. My wife asked her what was wrong, but she told us not to worry about it and kept dodging the question, so we didn't push the issue. However, after the meal, James took us aside privately and told us that Sarah felt hurt because we never provided any dishes she could eat at our dinners, and it seemed like we were deliberately excluding her. He added that he thought we were being rude and inconsiderate by not accommodating her, which really pissed me off, and we got into a huge argument over it. My wife feels terrible that Sarah was so upset and apologized to her and James profusely, but I don't agree that we did anything wrong. I like Sarah very much as a person, and I don't have anything against her dietary choices, but I don't believe it's fair to expect us to change our entire menu or make an entire separate meal for one person, especially when so much time and effort goes into creating these dinners. For the record, nobody else has any dietary restrictions. Am I the butthole? OP, you've been inviting this vegan to your house for 1.5 years without a single dish that she can eat? 1.5 years? This woman sat at your table watching you guys eat at these dinner parties for 1.5 years, and you don't think you did anything wrong? Honestly, OP, you can't make one dish. You can't make a salad. You can't make a soup. Everything has to be something that this poor woman can't eat? To be honest, I'm surprised you didn't lose your friend over this. I'm even more surprised he kept bringing his girlfriend to your sucky dinner parties. Our next Reddit post is from I'll Be Condone. Just for context, I'm 6'2" and my wife is 4'11". She's insecure about her height, and while I try my best to tell her that she is stupendously beautiful the way she is, she got bullied about it pretty bad, and it's just an aspect she doesn't like about herself. With this in mind, we recently went to one of my favorite places to eat. Now, this restaurant has a really large counter and my wife is petite, so the cashier couldn't really see her. We ordered our food and were heading out when the cashier held out a giant piece of candy and said, "For your lovely daughter," to me. I honestly couldn't help burst out laughing to the point that I had tears in my eyes and had to compose myself before driving back home. My wife is obviously pretty pissed. Am I the butthole? Well, let's rephrase this. My wife is deeply insecure about an aspect of her body and has been bullied about it. And I, her husband, laughed at her in public to the point of tears. Am I the butthole? Yes, OP, you are. 3 out of 5 buttholes. But on the bright side, if your wife is pissed, all you have to do is give her a warm glass of milk and read her a bedtime story, and she should cheer up pretty quickly. Our next Reddit post is from I Want a Car. This is a hot topic in my family at the moment. I live on an obscure little island near the UK. We have a local quiz show that's aired on the telly that I appeared on a few years ago. The premise of the show is that you can win prizes for doing challenges. Some of the challenges were physical, some psychological, and some requiring problem-solving skills. I sailed through a lot of the physical part because I wasn't a fat bastard back then, and the problem-solving skills required a lot of math, which is my career, so I was okay there. As for the psychological part, you had to enter a clear box room filled with something you're terrified of and search through it to find clues to the next part. I thought of a believable lie before I entered the show. We had to list 5 things we're afraid of, and I put down all the things I'm not scared of. I listed spiders, cockroaches, snakes, scorpions, and woodlice. I literally couldn't care less about any of these creatures. I grew up in a rural landscape, and I've had to pretty much deal with creepy crawlies my entire life, so it's not an issue. My actual fear is a bit more obscure, and I really honestly knew I'd fail if I was put in a room with it. When I entered the room, there were cockroaches everywhere. I was in my boxers and barefoot, which was incredibly gross, I can't lie, and had to sift through and move the cockroaches to find clues for my next challenge. I did it in the time period described to me and got through to the next part. The rest of the contestants failed. Now, I won a pretty average car, which I didn't particularly want, so as soon as I legally could, I sold it and made a nice profit, since it was pretty much brand new and bought myself a rather nicer car. I told my family this recently on a drunken night when we were all at a get-together, and although everybody found it uproariously funny, my family are split into 2 camps. Some people think I cheated and was ethically and morally wrong, and other people think the other contestants deserve to lose if they listed their actual fears. I am obviously in the latter category, but genuinely wondering what others think. Nah, OP, I'd give you 0 out of 5 buttholes. Basically, you were just playing the game. To be honest, reality TV shows aren't even about playing fair. It's just about creating an entertaining and profitable show, and it sounds like that's what you did. Our next Reddit post is from a chasm. Ever since we, a 27-year-old couple, had a baby, my wife has been talking like a baby herself. Rather than teaching the baby to talk like a person, it's as if my wife's language has become baby-like. She would make noises in between conversations like "Bodie Bodie choop" and "Oh whoa whoa fwatata." Even when talking with adults. This is especially embarrassing when I'm with her in public places when she talks like that to complete strangers. I've been telling her nicely to not do that, but she would just laugh it off, totally oblivious to how people around us stare whenever she talks like a baby. I have to point out that she is not in the spectrum, just a crazy new mom, in fact, too crazy sometimes. It was a day off for us when we had my parents babysitting the baby, and we finally have some time by ourselves. We went out for dinner, and she did it again, talking to the waiter something like this. "Yippee, thanks, yeah ha ha ha. Oh whoa yo yeah yeah, by the way, can you give us an extra plate for this?" Seeing how the waiter stared at her as if she's some kind of mentally challenged person, I rolled my eyes and told her, "I'm taking a break today and don't need another baby who can't even talk properly to look after. Please excuse me." Then I left the restaurant without her. I don't know what happened to me, but I probably shouldn't have done that, but I guess I kinda just snapped. Am I the butthole? The stuff about the baby talk is funny, but honestly, this just seems like a very normal couple fight. Person A keeps doing something that's weird and bothering person B. Person B says, "Hey, this is bothering me, can you stop it?" Now, I'm not saying that person A has to stop the behavior, but person A at least owes person B a conversation about why they're doing it, whether they should stop, why it's bothering them, things like that. Talk about it like a normal couple. So I'm gonna give the wife here 3 out of 5 buttholes for basically ignoring her partner's wishes entirely. And I'm gonna give the husband 1 out of 5 buttholes because abandoning your wife in a restaurant is a little dramatic, but I can understand your frustration. Our next Reddit post is from Marty100. Using a throwaway. Some context. I live in California and my wife's niece wanted to come visit us for a few weeks. She's 22. I've known her since she was 4. Her dad walked out on her family when she was 8. She's very sheltered by her mother. Anyway, I told my wife it was fine with me if she visits. She's a good kid and our 5-year-old son loves his cousin and really wanted to see her. But then my wife goes, and she wants to bring her boyfriend. He's 47. I'm 41. My wife is 42. I was like, you're kidding, right? She wasn't kidding. At first, I was like, heck no. But after about a week of talking, I gave in, with one caveat. I told my wife that if this dude is staying in our house, I'm gonna ask some questions he might not like. She wanted to know what kind of questions, and I gave her some. 1. How did you guys meet and who made the first move? If the dude made the first move, it's weird. 2. Has the dude been married? Does he have kids? 3. Why are you dating such a young woman? 4. Are you aware of the young woman's history with her father? 5. What's the end game here? A serious relationship? Marriage? Have you discussed what will happen if the young woman gets pregnant? I know, I'm not the girl's father, but no one else in her family is asking these questions. Her mother is fine with the relationship, which boggles my mind. So, fast forward to the visit. Niece and old dude show up. I'm cordial. I wait till evening, after everything is settled and dinner is over, and I invite the dude to join me on the porch for a beer. Just me and him. Then, I start asking my questions. After only my second question, the guy starts getting defensive. He told me this is none of my business. I got a little pissed at that. I told him he's staying in my home for a week. I can ask him a few questions. And the girl is my niece. I'm not out of bounds here. He told me I was making him uncomfortable. I replied that I'm uncomfortable having a dude who's clearly taken advantage of a young girl stay in my home. I said, you can answer my questions and act like you're a stand-up guy, or feel free to hit the ducking road. Well, he left. My wife and niece were upset with me. They said I acted like a jerk and that if my niece is happy, to let it go. Again, I was told it's none of my business. They've since broken up, which I'm glad about. Not sure if my actions were the cause. So, am I the butthole for questioning this guy? No way, OP. Absolutely not the butthole. You get 0 out of 5 buttholes. Even ignoring the age thing, if she had brought home a 22-year-old guy and you'd asked those same questions, that would have been totally fine. I mean, it's your house and the guy's gonna be living under your roof. Totally reasonable. Plus, OP added this very telling update. Talked to my niece this morning. She and I are totally fine. Knew my actions came from wanting to keep her safe. I apologize for my actions regardless. I asked why they broke up. The guy was cheating on his wife. He confessed it to my niece and said he would get a divorce for her. He has 3 kids. All her age or older. She dumped him. Oh man, that's so screwed up. Our next Reddit post is from Cinevar. I've been away since Thursday, house sitting for my mom, and it's currently Sunday afternoon where I live. Here, mail doesn't deliver on weekends. They only do that Monday to Friday, which means I had 2 days worth of mail in my mailbox. My 30-something-year-old neighbors moved in on Friday when I wasn't there, and she was in her front yard when I was collecting my mail. She goes, "Don't check your mailbox on weekends. They don't deliver on weekends, so don't check it." In a rude Karen voice. If you know, then you know. Already, I know we're not going to have a good neighbor relationship, and I'm hungover and can't be bothered dealing with her stuff. So I said, I know, it's just I've been kidnapped in the basement for a week, so I had to check the mailbox. I don't have a basement. Barely anyone does in my country. She seemed shocked, but it was an obvious joke with my overly sarcastic tone. Then we both went inside, and that was that. About 25 minutes later, the police knocked on the door thinking I was held captive in my basement, which I don't have. So I explained to them what I'd said, and they just laughed and left. Just before, I was putting rubbish in the bin and she came out and called me a grunt for making her think I was kidnapped. Am I the butthole? Nah, no OP, 0 out of 5 buttholes. Your neighbor is a moron. Our next Reddit post is from Spirulina4. My stepson is turning 18 soon, and my husband and I decided that we'll be getting him a car. I make more than my husband does, and we'll be splitting the cost of the car 70-30. That's fine with me. His mother is a woman who I make the effort to be civil with, but don't like. I'm much younger than she and my husband are, and come from a more privileged background. She had a lot of things to say about that. She called me her ex's cash cow, and that's one of the better things she said about me. We're not friends, and I won't even describe her as nice to me. When my husband told her that we'll buy my stepson a car for his birthday, she said she wants to chip in 5% of the cost, and then we could tell my stepson that the gift is from all the parents and step-parents. I don't want to do that. I don't need her 5%, and my stepson knows that his mom and stepdad are not in a position to equally share the cost of buying the car. I don't want recognition for paying 70% of his gift's cost, but I don't want to share my and my husband's gift to my stepson with the woman who has always been antagonistic to me. I don't know why she wants us to gift the car jointly now, because we've never given my stepson a gift jointly before. And I don't understand what's so bad about getting separate gifts from me and his dad, and his mom and his stepdad. I know that many people will say that it's better for my stepson to see that all his parents and step-parents are getting along. I'm civil to his mom, and I never talk negatively about her to him. Is that not enough? Am I incapable of being a good stepmother to him if I'm not best friends with his mom? Do I have to let his mom get her way whenever she asks in the name of all parents getting along? No, OP. The answer is no, you do not. You get 0 out of 5 buttholes on this one. That mom can't criticize you calling you a cash cow and then expect to treat you like a cash cow. If she wants to join in, she can buy her son an air freshener. That was rSlash AmITheButthole, and unless you hit the like and subscribe button, you are definitely the butthole.